Yeah, so if you don't know about me, my name is Chad. I'm one of the developers on the Delver project. This is something I've been working on for probably 5 years now, since the beginning, the start of creating the engine for it, and then working with Joshua to make an actual game out of that project. What it is a first person action roguelike game, which you can see here. So, first person in 3D with Doom style, based on sprites for everything. Cool retro look we're using for things. Yeah, but what I've been doing, what I started last time was showing people how to use the Delver level editor, which is this tool here that we were using when creating the game. A lot of the rooms in the game are just generated by the game itself, like this, where the game can just go ahead and make levels for different areas in the game. Here's some cave rooms. Here's some of the sewer rooms, where the game can just go ahead and it knows how to make some of these levels. Unfortunately, when you're making levels like this, they do tend to get a little on the samey side, where once you've seen a few of them, you can start seeing the rules behind how they get created. Like you'll start seeing that these here, they always have this sort of middle area, and then these exits that lead off of it. And sometimes it does generate stuff in the middle that's a little more interesting. It does know how to put these pipes around and a little more decorations like that. But if you see enough of these, they all kind of look the same. Uh, so that's why. Oh, let me restart that. That's why, even in a procedurally generated game like this, a lot of the times what you do want to do is have some custom content in there. The developer behind Catacomb Kids gave a great talk about this, I think at GDC once, where he was showing that he does mix in just hand generated rooms sometimes just because they can give you just the sort of symmetry and just a different feel that computer generated rooms aren't going to give you. Where sometimes it is nice to have just a more decorated space or a simpler space for the player to run through, just so that it's not always as chaotic all the time. Uh, just pure chaos takes a lot of brain power to parse a lot of the time. So sometimes if you just give people an interlude where they don't have to think so much is nice. Or sometimes you can go the other way and you can use a hand built level to make something that the generator will never do, like you put a mini boss room in there, or a monster closet, or just like a treasure room. Something that the player will stumble upon and be pleasantly surprised by. Uh, so I was showing how to use the level editor last time, and we created a level that should still be around here that I think I called it stream level. Yeah, so we made this last time, which is kind of somewhere halfway in between a sewer level and a dungeon level. Yeah. So it starts you down here in this watery area. It's got a little alcove in the side with some loot and a shelf here, and then you climb up you climb up this ladder to get out. And then there should be a monster up here to fight. Yep. It gives the player something to do, and then it's got this area up here with some things to break. And that's as far as we got last time. So I think I want to continue on this today, and I want to actually put this in the game and show how to do that. All right. Yeah, so I think I just want to pull that up here. And I think I just want to turn this more into a level that we can actually use. So I'm gonna use, it's WSAND to move the camera around like that, and I'm using the left and right arrow keys to turn. That's sort of like how I like to fly around, where I don't have to take my hand off the keyboard a lot of the time, but you can use the mouse and hold down right click to kind of get this free look cam as well, if you're more used to flying around like that. And then the Q and E keys move the camera up and down. You have this selection box that you can move around. And you can click and drag somewhere to select an area. Like here, I can select and drag and hit enter, and it'll carve out this section using the textures that I've picked over here in the texture picker. And if I wanted to, I could change those textures, but I think I'm just going to keep these ones. I like them. I'm going to select that and delete those actually. What I want to do is make a new area that starts over here, some dry ground for the player to start at. Let's do that. Let's carve out this area. And then I think I want to move the ceiling up above that. Move the floor up a little bit so that it makes sense. Maybe like that. Maybe switch those lower textures while we're doing it. I'm going to turn off paint adjacent. I don't want to paint this wall. I just want to paint the lower section of these two tiles. I'm going to select that bottom step texture. And then I'm going to move up this tile so that they look good. And if I hit P, I can preview and play this level, and I should be able to step up there. Yeah, that feels good. So I'm gonna right click here and remove that marker. I think what I want to do is put the player marker, put the player start somewhere over here. Actually, maybe I'll put stair up marker here instead. What this is telling the game to do is when we play, it'll put the ladder up to the next level there. We could dress this up a little bit if we wanted to. We could change that upper wall to this wood texture. Oh, hey RGC Dev, how you doing? I've been really enjoying the levels that you've been posting in that Delver community Discord. Yeah, so there, it looks like it's more attached to the ceiling using this wood texture. It blends in with the wood that's being used for that's the ladder up. If we wanted to, we can make a little more of a base for this landing as well. Just sort of drag that up. Does that give enough room? Yeah, maybe we could just drag the ceiling up for this whole area. Maybe that would be interesting. Yeah. Maybe that's a little too far. Don't forget your ceilings. Yeah, so that's cool. We could make this more like a little step down area if we wanted to, but I think it's fine like that. I'm gonna grab these textures with G and make sure that the walls are painted with the right texture there since I exposed that. There. So now we have this new little alcove. I think I'll put a torch over here just to draw attention to the fact that that's where the exit is. Cool. Pretty basic. There's not really much going on here. It's got a little bit of a height transition that we could use a little bit more if we wanted to. Like, maybe that's a little more interesting. That could work, or we could do something a little different and angle the ceiling up instead. Then it kind of matches what's going on here. Yeah, so maybe something like that. If we wanted to, we could put some entities down, like we could put a breakable barrel down here in this corner. And Shift Alt drag to make another one and just sort of rotate these different directions. Now we have that. if we wanted to, we could use a different floor texture here. Like maybe this dirt texture for the ground instead. Oh, that box spawned there. That should be fine though. Yeah, so this is already cool. I think there's another dungeon set, this dirt pile, that I'm going to throw in the corner. This is good just for decorating things like corners of the ground, just breaking up the boxy look that just using destroy tiles can give. There, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I like where this is going. So I'm going to save this. And I think we need to add... So we have a stairs up in the level. We also need a stairs down. So maybe it would make more sense, actually. Let's expand off of up here. So what I want to do is I want to put this level that I'm making into the game layout somewhere. Since the mod loading in Delver lets us create areas and then it sort of looks at the sort order for the areas to figure out where they should show up in the dungeon, I should just be able to make this one hand-built level here and place it somewhere in the dungeon. So maybe it'll take place after the dungeon, or maybe before. Yeah, it could go like after the caves, before you go into the caves, maybe after the well. So in that case, what I want to do is make it so it has a stairs up so that you can go down into it, and then a stairs down that you leave to the next area. So maybe it would make more sense to have the stairs up here in this section. I'm going to copy this. I want to just start making... How do I want to do this? Maybe this area here. Or instead of this being just this alcove, what I could do is just continue this on. And maybe this could actually be our way down instead. So there's going to be a monster there. Hey Queen Jazz, how's it going? Let's see. Yeah, I just want to do something quick here because what I want to show is not the level creation so much today, as I think I covered that last time pretty well. But what I do want to show is how to actually mix your levels into the game, which is not something I think we've done a good job of showing off, so I think that is where I want to get today. So let's just make a quick U here. I think I want to do something like this, and then maybe delete one of these because we can put a door there instead. We could sort out these floors so that they're all the same height. Maybe we'll just pull this part a little down. We can do that same trick we did earlier, where you can sort of lower one section, and instead of using that clay tile texture, we can use the dirt instead. Then we can make some steps up there. Player should be able to just walk out. Nice. This would be a good spot to put a door, I think. So we can put a door marker down. Quake mapping. It's been a while since I mapped for Quake. I just remember always mixing... I always miss a leak somewhere, and then I spend like the rest of the day trying to figure out like where is that centimeter that isn't tied off from the rest of the level. I always liked mapping for Unreal better back in the day because it was the inverse. It was always, you could just carve out. You never had to worry about leaks or anything like that. Of course, that had its own issues to deal with, that you always had to carve out anything you didn't want to be solid, but that's kind of the way the Delver engine acts, where everything's solid by default. Like if you spawn into the void here, everything's solid, you can't move, but you carve out empty spaces. So I think my head just works like that better. Yeah, Trench Broom looks really cool. I think I was watching Trench Broom videos while I was figuring out how this Delver engine, how this editor should work. They have really cool tools in there where you can do it, like, I could select one of these walls and then another wall and mirror it, and then every change I did to this side of the wall would get mirrored on the other side. I never quite went that deep with this editor, but I don't know. It'd be fun to spend more time and fix this up if I ever had a chance. Alright, so let's do this. This is not going to be the stairs up. We're going to remove that. This is actually going to be stairs down. Yeah, so that's going to be the stairs down. You do want to worry about which of these you're using. If you look in marker, there's a stair down marker, and then there's also an exit location. Usually when you're making levels, the exit location is the marker that you really want to use, because in a lot of these levels, we have a bunch of end chunks get generated and only one of them is used for the stairs down. If you use this stairs down marker, one here on the left that looks like a question mark, if you use that one, it would generate a stair down in every one of those locations. Like I could do this here, I can make another stair down, and now there are 2 exits down, and it would get you down to the next level, but going back up a ladder, it wouldn't know which one to put you at. It really only expects there to be one. So what we do is, in the base game for generated levels, we use this other marker, this exit location, and that will either be a stairway down like a ladder, or it will be a really good loot spawn. And there will only be one exit in that case. But since this isn't a generated level, I think what we're going to do with this instead is just have the game loaded up and have it be just a whole hand-generated level to run people through. I'm actually going to use this stair down. I'm going to do that. We can drag the ceiling back up again. If we wanted to, we could do something similar where we use a wood lower wall. Then it kind of blends together a little more. It looks like there's a platform that this is built into. Maybe this might make more sense to be lower than this area here. Yeah, something like that would work. This part doesn't really make any sense anymore, but yeah, maybe something like that. And then instead of using this wood with brick on the outside, we can just use a regular wood texture. That seems to blend in pretty well. Looks like there's a little landing here if we wanted to. We could copy the same floor that's being used. Maybe make this sort of curve around the outside. Maybe that would be a little more interesting. Right click on that and move it to the floor. Now these things kind of match up. Yeah, so now we have this area. Yeah, additive mapping is a whole different way of thinking. After being on this project for too long, I think it'd take me a couple of weeks just to get back in that mode again. I would love to go back and start playing with the Quake engine again, though. Watching what Joshua's been doing has been really fun. His automated tile map to Quake levels are really cool. Yeah, so we have a way down, which is at the bottom of this level, which makes sense, which means if the player is going to start up here and sort of worm their way down, that means that we could probably put a couple of monster spawns down here as well. It's good to have some kind of encounter at the end of a level. We could put maybe one monster enough. That could be fine. This doesn't need to be a level full of monsters or anything. Maybe this is a little quieter since it's a generated area. Just a little interlude between the computer generated areas. We use these areas a lot in the game as sort of just pacing areas or story bits where we'll throw shops in there or notes for the player to find, just so that every 2 to 3 levels it gives the player something to do besides just fight monsters. I think that always feels nice. You want to have some pacing in your levels. There, and then we can put an exit maybe somewhere over here. You can do sort of the same thing that we were doing at the bottom. Sometimes we use these transition areas to blend between different themes as well. Like this could be an area where you're going from the dungeon theme to more of a sewer theme. And you could definitely use this water more in the places that you're going to, because now you've introduced it to the player. And it's not just out of nowhere when they see it. They can tell, they remember where they saw it the first time. Do that. We show how to add a monster not native to the theme level, RGC Dev is asking. Yeah, let's do that. Let me finish painting this here. Whoops, is that not? Or maybe that is the right texture. Okay. In that case, I'm gonna put a marker. Let's put the stair up here. So there's that. And we'll put some wood back. There, this will be our exit. And if we wanted to, we just put some clutter around here. Some pots. Then we could put maybe, put a shelf. Slam that up against the wall. Then we can put that clutter object in there. And this could be like a storeroom area if we wanted to use it like that. I'm gonna copy that and let's make another one of these, put it over there. I'm using the Alt key and the X and Y keys, so I can hit Y to constrain there, and I can hold Alt. I'll drag that out, and hold down Control to snap it to the grid. Just an easy way to move these things around. Yeah, so we have that very empty storeroom here. And we'll walk through, we'll go through this, there'll be a monster to fight. Kill myself while fighting that. Then we'd go down from here, and then our exit would be down there. So let's save, and I want to remove this, and let's make that be the eye from the cave instead. So what we do is we go to Entity, and we want to put down a spawner, a monster spawner. And this one we can click on, and we can see all the properties for it. And you can see the monster theme here is Dungeon, and the monster name is Thief. So that means that every time we play, it's gonna put a thief there. But it doesn't have to be that. I could take the name of the monster off, and now it's just gonna make a random dungeon monster there for me instead. It can be anything from the dungeon theme. Let's get that out of the corner. Or this could be something from the cave instead. So if we use the cave theme, now it's gonna be pulling cave monsters here all the time. So if you want it to be a spider all the time, you could just be like cave spider, and now you've got a spider here all the time. You can also make these really powerful spiders if you play with this monster level boost. Like I could add 10 levels onto these based on where they're spawning now, and then these spiders will just wreck me because I'm probably like level 1 and they're level 10. Or instead of doing something like that, let's put that back to 0. We could make it spawn a bunch of spiders for us. So if we change the spawn radius up to like 4, yeah, let's make like 5 spiders. So now it's just gonna fill this area with spiders for us to fight, which might be like that's not really very nice. We would want to put these on the floor probably when they spawn, so they don't spawn in the air. So you can sort of see how you can use this to spawn just like a ton of monsters if you wanted to. And it'll find good places for them to go. They're not going to spawn in the wall or anything. The problem is this spawn radius might be putting spiders up here as well, though. So that's something to watch for with those spawners. Yeah. That 4 is... like, since it's trying to spawn 10 spiders, it really does need to widen the search radius to find a spot to put them. So really what we want to do is probably keep this farther down closer to a 2, just to keep it inside of this room. And then it'll spawn as many spiders as it can find room for inside that area. Which is kind of unfair to just, like, walk around this corner and then find that there's a billion spiders down there, but oh well. Can't always be fair. We can actually stress test this. I wonder how many monsters we could spawn. If we change the spawn radius to like 10. Can we spawn 100 spiders? What does that do? That's a lot of spiders. Yeah, that maybe that's too many spiders, but that's still pretty cool. The Delver engine can handle a ton of monsters if you want to go about it like that. Now we have this level that is just literally crawling with spiders. So I hope you're not scared of spiders, because it might not be your stream. Let's make this an eye instead. I wonder what that is like. Oh. Yeah, that ended pretty badly there. That's a lot of eyes. Yeah, I want to see somebody make a Doom style horde mod for this. Yeah, the radius isn't blocks or tiles. Let's just make it spawn 1 instead. I think one monster is probably better. Yeah, so now there's always an eye to fight here at the end. Or if we wanted to, let's just keep it like that. So there's always going to be an eye to fight. And we could drag that up a little bit and he would spawn in the air. Oh, I'd have to put place on floor to false, and then he should spawn in the air. He or she, I don't know what these eyes are. I don't know if they're gendered. They're just floating eyes. Alright, so we have this area. I'm going to save it then. Let's see. Maybe we should put a shop down here as well. We go prefab NPC. We could put Jeff down here. He's always hanging out down in the dungeons for whatever reason. Now there's a very dark Jeff. Let's give him a torch. Let's make sure he's not standing in the ground. Although he should be standing on the ground. Yeah, that makes a little more sense. He's hanging out here. I think that wall texture is wrong. Let's paint that. Yeah, so now Jeff is here, but we can walk through him and we can't actually interact with him. So what we need to do is also put down an entity trigger, and then we'll put down a shop trigger. We should modify the collision of that a little bit. We make it just a little bigger. Make it the size of Jeff, probably. Yeah, so that's about Jeff's size. And this is gonna sell, probably, this will be a weapon shop. We'll just drag this over the top of Jeff. Yeah, so now I can use my gold to buy something over here. Yeah, so that works. So now we have a shop. Got some monsters to fight. Yeah, you could make an indestructible door if you wanted to. Like, instead of using this, I could remove that and put an actual door down instead by going entities door. And then I could put this hidden door down instead. And I could hit T to rotate that thing into place. Now that there's this door here that always spawns, it's always going to look like that. But if we click on it, we can say that it's locked, and we can also say that it takes a key. So now that when we walk up to it, we can't open it, it's going to say that it's locked. But if you put down entity basic key, now we can pick up this key, and we can open this door. Or if you didn't want to do something like that, you can make it so that... I wonder if this would work. So triggers ID door, and then if we named this thing door for its ID, I wonder if using the shop will open the door. Yep. So now we have this door that doesn't open, it's locked, but if you talk to Jeff, now that door opens. What we probably want to do, yeah, that's kind of weird, but why not? You talk to him, this door opens, now you can go fight things. Just fun things you can do with triggers. Let me put that door that we had back. Yeah, it would make more sense if this came down a little bit. Yeah. All right, so let's get this spawning in the game. So what I want to call this thing, let's see, save this out to my desktop probably as stream level. And now I could show, oh yeah, the Delver editor, if you want to find that, if you go to Steam in your library, you can right click on Delver and go to Properties and Local Files. Go to Browse Local Files, and you'll see the Delver editor there. So if I'm on Mac, I just see the jar file, but if I was on Windows, I'd see the delvedit.exe that I could run as well. This is also where you would want to put your mods and things like that. So you can make a mod folder here. Call it mods. Make this new folder. This would be like my mod, and you'd put all of your mod files in there. And when you started the game, you'd see this mod show up. I'm gonna put mine just so that it's easier for me since I'm running the dev version. I could do this a little differently, I think, though. Let's see. Yeah, I already have a mods folder here, which is where my outdoor mod is living. So I'm going to build it there instead. I think I'll call this stream mod. And what I want to do is place this in the Delver generator order. So what I'm going to have to do is go to the assets, and I'm going to steal from the generator folder one of these other areas. So I think I'm going to go generator dungeon and steal this section. Cool. So now I can back up. Go back to my mods folder. Mod stream mod. And then I need to make that same path. So I need to make generator. And then I can name this something else. I'm gonna call this like stream. That's the name of the theme that I'm making. And I'm gonna paste that section.dat in there. Let's open that up in Sublime now. I'm just gonna drag that over there. And now you can see this is what the dungeon section looks like, which is that it's got a difficulty level of 1, it's got a sort order of 1, which means it's gonna start right after the camp. Its name is dungeon, it has 2 floors, and then it has both a level template that's used to generate the levels, and it has a transition level. That's the well. That shows up before the caves. The transition level appears after all of the generated levels do. So if I change floors to 2 to floors 10, it would make 10 of these level templates, and then it would make the transition level afterwards. In my case, I think there's only going to be one floor, and there won't be a transition level because this is effectively a transition level. But I'm going to just, so I can get rid of the transition level. I'm going to paste this in here instead. And what should I call this? Call this the stream area. No, Siri, I don't need any help. Yeah. This can use the dungeon theme. It's not generated, and it's gonna use this level called levels stream level.bin. Cool. And yeah, we can have it spawn monsters, why not? So we have this section inside of its own generator folder, and we'll also make a folder called levels, and that same level I made earlier that I saved in my desktop, I'm gonna put that over there, stream level. Let's make sure that's named the same. So that's stream level bin, that's level stream level bin. Cool. All right, now we should be able to run the game, and let's see if this mod gets picked up. Let's see what happens. Game is starting. This is the latest version of the game. Whoops, I have a mod installed, actually. So I can show off the mod manager now. I have a bunch of mods installed. I do see my stream mod is there. I also see Joshua's Guns mod. I see this Temple something German dungeon mod that somebody posted on the workshop that I was playing with. Let's turn all of these off. Let's turn everything off because I don't really, all I care about right now is my one stream mod. So if I play this level here, I have debug collision boxes turned on too, but that's fine. I'm gonna kill myself. And then the next time I go through the dungeon, I should be able to find my theme if I did everything right. So here's dungeon 1, here's dungeon 2, here's the well, here's my stream area that I just put in there. So if I start at the top, okay, this is kind of annoying. I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna come back to that. But I want to turn off debug collision because I don't really care about that right now. And we should be able to run through our area that we just made. Let's see if this works. Should drop me back in the stream area, and I shouldn't see boxes everywhere. Good. This looks better. So this is the area we just made. We've got Jeff to talk to. We could buy some arrows from him. Sure. That's a little steep, but I'll buy that. We'll run out through here. There should be something to fight. 2 things to fight. Probably because I turned spawn monsters on a true, the game does just spawn monsters around if it's less than a certain number. So these are probably just random monsters that we're seeing here. And they're pulling from the dungeon theme because that's what I set this to earlier. Yeah. And then there should be the eye around the corner to fight. Cool. Yeah, and now if we go down, we're in the caves. Cool, so that worked just how when I wanted it to do. RGC Dev is asking, when making levels of the dungeon or other level textures, does the theme option switch on the auto random gen of the walls and so on? Yeah, there are a few things that determine that. The dungeon theme does set a lot of things, like the monsters that are being spawned and all of the wall painters and things like that. I can go ahead and open a theme to show you what that looks like. If I go out and let's find the base game assets here. Yeah, Dungeoneer, assets, generator. Let's just look at the dungeon level. If we look at dungeon and then info, this will be all the random generation info that it uses to sort of paint the textures and put sprites down, things like that. Yeah, so this is telling me a lot. This is saying that there are some stairs that have been defined for this area. The torches that are going to spawn are going to look like this. It can use these doors when putting doors down. It can make these surprises, which looks like a bunch of bombs, some fire bombs, red slime, spiders, some treasure. Got a whole bunch of decorations like skulls and bones and pots that can make. And then here we have texture painters. Yeah, so if a level is set to the dungeon theme and it's using something here, if it's using something in the T1 texture atlas, what it can do is replace them instead. So this is saying, if you see something that's using the texture atlas T1 and it's a wall and it's using texture 0, it can be any number of these instead. So most of the time, wall 0 is going to stay 0, but sometimes it'll switch to a 7 or an 11, or the same with these other ones, where sometimes the floor will change, sometimes the ceiling could change. If we look at the other infos, like we could back up here, and let's look at like the caves instead. If we look at the cave info, that one looks a little different. The lights that it spawns they might be, yeah, they're pulling from a different sprite atlas, so those could be switched out for something else. And then the texture painters, you'll see that it's mainly replacing just the cave textures here. So if it sees 0 for the cave wall, it can replace it with any of these. If it sees cave wall 4, it can use any of these, and so on. Yeah, so if you're making a new theme and you want to do the same thing, like if I had some of the textures from the dungeon down in the caves, what I'd have to do is actually go ahead and like copy this whole dungeon section, and then I could put it in here. And now the cave area would also be painting these dungeon textures the same way. But I don't want to do that, actually. Yeah, so I think I just showed off what I wanted to in this stream, which was to show how you could go from a level that you've made to actually having it in the game. So I think this is pretty good. I'll probably throw this stuff up on GitHub just as an example project for people to use and to look at. And yeah, I think this needs to be it for my stream. I need to go find something to eat. I still need to get more coffee for today. And yeah, thanks for stopping by.